Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. This is Mickey Hudson tuning in for another Facebook Live on the PFAFF um, embroidery. Today, we are going to be talking about embroidering on knits. So I'm going to give everybody a few minutes to come on in, have a little seat. I just want to remind everyone once again that if you see any links that ask for personal information or money, those are not from us. So do not give out any personal information. We will, however, include a link to a survey that after this is over, if you will just take a few minutes to fill that out, I'd greatly appreciate it. We're all trying to make this a better experience for everyone involved. And so the only way we can get some feedback from you is this way. So we are trying to find out what kind of content you guys are looking for, things you may want to see, etc. So I will remind you again at the end, but if I mention anything during the course of this Facebook Live and you're going, hey, that I would like to see more of, that's something to put into the survey at the end. So I'm going to go ahead and get started because I'm going to assume everybody is here. This is always going to be recorded and it's going to be saved in this Facebook page and on the PFAFF Facebook page. And then later you can also find it on the YouTube channel, the PFAFF YouTube channel. But it will always be here for you. So if you want to come and find it here. But today we are going to be talking about embroidering on knit. Oh, I want to say always hi to my crew. They're behind the scenes. They do a lot of helpful stuff for me. So Meredith, Thomas, and Ryan, as always, I want to say hello to you guys. And so you guys can say hi to them as well because they're watching. So today we're going to be talking on about knits. And most specifically is how to hoop a onesie, because that seems to be a lot of people are asking about that. So how do you hoop a onesie and how do you embroider on knit? Now, if you are new to embroidery and you haven't really started playing with knit yet, my biggest recommendation store and just get some t-shirts and some sweaters and a variety of different weights of knit and just start experimenting. That's going to be the biggest thing. When you're also starting, my recommendation to all new embroiderers is you need three basic forms of stabilizer. You need a cutaway, you need a tearaway, and you need a washaway. And that's where pretty much all of us start. And then as we start going, okay, I'm feeling good about this. I want to tackle this big chunky sweater, or I want to use this silk rayon knit that's very light, or handkerchief knit is extremely, extremely light. So that's where all of a sudden the variety of stabilizers do come in. Now, I want to remind everyone that, again, I'm not talking demo software or anything like I have, before, but I do want to remind everybody about the MySewNet free account having access to free good stuff. So one free thing is if you go make a free account, you can access the apps. And I'm going to show you this because this is going to be a very good friend for you. But if we come over, oh, I'm not talking to you. Sorry, my watch is waking up. Whoops. All right, this is, sorry, did not mean to give you dead air there. For some reason, you are not doing it. All right, so I'm going to come and do this guy instead. I'll find out what's happening. You're on. All right. So on this one, we've got the Creator Queue. This is the PFAFF, what I call the information app. So if you create a free account, you can have access to the creator queue. And what is so nice about this, so when you come to the home, there's all kinds of a wealth of information regarding no matter what machine, what PFAFF machine you have, there's all kinds of information. But do you see this little guide right here? This stabilizer guide is extremely beneficial, especially if you're new to machine embroidery. So like here's all the cutaways. So there's a variety of different cutaways. So you can, I always recommend just poke around when we're watching TV in the evening and just see what they have to say for themselves. And you can get kind of an idea of what's going to work best for the project you have in mind. So, okay. All right. I'm just going to unplug this real quick and see. It was working this morning. And I'm going to plug you. So plug you and plug you back in. Get back in there, you little stinker. There we go. And yes, I do talk to inanimate objects as if they were people. There we go. All right, so we're back in action. All right, so let's talk about the different stabilizers. Now, most of my stabilizers are opened, so they won't have labels on them. But there's two different kinds of a cutaway that you can get. Bring this back down here. So there is this is the help me out, Meredith. The Whisper Weft, the no-show. Thank you. The no-show fusible mesh. And this you can get where it is a non-fusible, which means there's no sticky on the back. And the other is a fusible. So there's a sticky on the back. And I'm going to talk about those in a minute. But this is the no-show mesh. And as you can see, it looks a little meshy. This one is a cutaway, but it looks like a paper, but it's not. It doesn't tear. It's a very solid. And this is the kind of stuff that you see if you were to purchase like a polo shirt at the mall. And if you flip it over and look at the backside, a lot of times you'll see this is the non-woven cutaway. So it's not a mesh. It's just, it looks like a tearaway, but it is just a non-woven and it's cutaway. Now, another thing too, when the stuff that I'm talking about, so some of you might have been embroidering knits for a while and some of you may be new to it. And some of you may have looked at other people who have been teaching embroidering on knits. And you will say, well, that's not the way they told it, or that's not the brand they use, or that's not the stuff they use. There's all kinds of different ways. I'm going to be sharing what has worked best for me over the years. And that does not in any way disparage somebody else or even another educator that has a different way. I'm a big fan of learn as much as you can, test it out, find what works for you, and then that will be your little recipe or your formula. But always give things a try. This is another one. I was all out of it, so I actually ran to the store today for you so that I could show you this. So this is a point. It's called Stitch Point Cutaway, and there's all different, the light, medium, dark. And this is something I do. So as soon as I take off my label, I usually just roll it up and stick it inside because I often get busy and forget what's going on. But let me show you this up close. So this is a stitch point. But you see how this has that little stitch point? But this is a cutaway, so it's not a tearaway. It's a nice, stable, very, very nice firm one. And as you've heard me mention that I ran out of it, So it's obviously something that I like. All right. Now I have been using this a little bit lately for a lot of different things, not just knits. Um, but my personal favorite is the fusible no-show mesh because I like to be able to iron it onto the back and have it hold it in place for me. Because when it comes to hooping knits, we're going to talk more about hooping, but when it comes to hooping knits, it's super rare that I will hoop a knit because it's such an unstable fabric. I don't like to put any extra stress on any of the knit fabrics. So we'll talk about that. The other thing that I like is when I talk about the wash away. Did I leave it over there? No, please say I didn't. Oh, good. So there's all kinds of different washaways, and I did. All right, so it's over there, but I can show you this without. So when it comes to the wash away or the dissolve away or the temporaries, there is Aqua Magic and there's Aqua Magic Plus. So Aqua Magic Plus, let's start with that because that's what I have here. So Aqua Magic Plus it's just Aqua Magic with a sticky backing on it. So Aqua Magic by itself is just the wash away with no sticky back. And Aqua Magic Plus has the sticky back. So I tend to use this a lot when I'm working with clothes. I use the regular Aqua Magic when I want to wash something away, when I'm making freestanding lace and stuff like that. But I use this when I'm working with clothing because I love the fact that it sticks. You can use like a spray adhesive. So whatever your dealer tends to carry is usually something they've tried out and they like. Some of the brands that you might run across are KK2000, 505. There are others on the market, but those are the two that I tend to use because my local dealer carries those. So there's another one that I tried out, which is very good, but unfortunately it's not sitting up there and it's not sitting up there. So I don't remember the name of it, but check with your local dealer because usually they've tried out what they're selling. So they know what's good, but you can use a temporary adhesive instead of using like the Aqua Magic Plus or the fusible no-show mesh. But I call myself lazy. My friends call me efficient, but it's all about time saving. So I always look for the easy. So when it comes to the no-show mesh, let me show you this a little bit close up for those of you that may never have seen this. So this is the no-show mesh. I am out of the fusible. So I had to dig in my closet and I found an old, different brand. But it is, see how there's the gluey on there? So yeah, it's a different color, but it's going to be the same. So it's going to be the no-show mesh with the adhesive on it. Now, the adhesive is a temporary adhesive, so you can peel it away and trim it down and do all that good stuff going on. And then just the other one, there is the Inspira Dissolve Away, which will go away with water. There is a Dissolve Away Max, which is really heavy duty. So I use this as well when I am making freestanding lace. So when I hoop the Aqua Magic, I also hoop a layer of this to make it really, really stiff. Okay, so I see a question. I will get to that in just 1 second. But this is very, very heavy, which I love it. And then there is the Clear and Melt. Clear and Melt is another one that is really, really really nice. And with clear and melt, what's nice is if you set your iron to their recommendations, then it will actually just dissolve away like magic. It's just amazing. And if you're like me and you like a really hot iron, it will melt and peel, but it doesn't stick to anything. So you just brush it off, but it does make a little bit of a mess. So I have trouble sewing lace fabric. It's so slippery. What do I use, please? Can you define, give me a little bit more definition of what you mean by lace fabric? Are you using that stretchy lace like for like bridal or something like that? All right, so I'll give that a minute to answer that. So let me just cut this off. So is there a one-page list of the Inspire stabilizers with the description and when it is best used? I don't know if there is a single list, but I will scroll through the comments later and look for one, because if there is one, I will definitely get you one. But I don't think there's a single list. The app is very close, so you can take a look. But for the lace issue, one of the things is, yes, lace is extremely slippery. And I'm out of magnets, so I'm embroidering with the hoop that I am going to show you on, and it's got all my magnets. So here we go. Here we go. So I love the metal hoops. We're going to talk about those, but I absolutely love the metal hoops for... So you've tried making lace curtains and you can't hem it. Okay, so you're trying to use your sewing machine to stitch and not necessarily embroider. One thing that you can do is cut strips of like the water soluble and use that as a stabilizer. So when you're stitching your hem, right, you're stitching your hem, just to have a strip of the stabilizer underneath. Yes, so the Epic has the same, sorry, my foot is having a problem. Ooh. So there is on the Epic, there is the app that is, sorry, you're just looking at. So on the PFAFF, the creative icon, the original designer Epic, the designer Ruby 90, the probably even the 980Q and the 95Q, the Epic 2, and the creative icon 2. They do have the stabilizer guide. So with the on the creative icon side, you're going to go to the help center, and on the Epic and designer Ruby and all that kind of side, you're going to go to the Joy OS advisor and go to the knowledge center, because you'll find stuff in the knowledge center. So, all right. Oh, back here. So when I say to cut a strip, now I'm just going to use this Dissolve Away Max, but you could definitely just use like a Aqua Magic, something lightweight that will dissipate. But you can just take a strip of the stabilizer and run it underneath. So that'll help stabilize the fabric so that it is not so slippery. And then just, now I use lukewarm water to dissolve the stabilizer. There are some mixtures and tinctures and stuff like that that people have used, but I personally have never tried them, so I can't confirm or deny if they're any good. But usually just some lukewarm water will dissolve the stabilizer, the water soluble stabilizers really easy. So if you go with cold water or you go with hot water, you're going to have a harder time than if you just use regular old room temperature water. It's like magic. It just goes away. So does that help with the lace curtains? Because the hemming that's where I would start personally. And then I may put, if that's still not working, I may put a layer on top as well to keep it into control. But don't be afraid to take control of your fabric and go, you will do what I want, and I will do all this stuff, but you will do what I want. You are the boss. Remember that. Okay. So let's talk a little bit about hoops. So, because I do want to show you how to hoop a onesie, because I know so many of you are curious about that. But there are these metal hoops, and there are 3 different sizes. On the PFAFF side of things, you've got the petite size, which is the 100 by 100. You have the metal hoop, which is the 180 by 130. And then you have the Creative Grand metal hoop, which is the 240 by 150. And right now, these are the sizes that we have, but I know that they are always on the lookout for metals so that they can go bigger. One of the things is the reasons that we only have the sizes that we have is it's very important that they keep the weight of them under a certain weight so it does not put wear and tear on your embroidery arm and wear it out sooner. So this is why we have the sizes we do. But always keep your eyes out because they are always looking for new ways to do this for us. Now, when it comes to the metal hoops, they come with 4 magnets. And you can purchase another extra set of 4 magnets. And you can use up to 8 magnets. So you can use the magnets and the extra set of magnets, but no more. So like for me, I happen to have a whole bunch of these hoops because I have multiple machines and I use them all the time. So I have a whole bunch of these magnets because you get 4 with each hoop. But they do want to be careful because I have heard people going, oh, I put 20 on them. No, because it's all about the weight. So you can use up to 8 magnets, even on the large grand hoop, and not put too much weight on the arm. So it just depends on, you can put 20 if you want, but just keep in mind that it's going to wear out the machine faster because it's not recommended. So one of the things that I love about this hoop is because it's so easy to hoop. You're able to hoop things without putting a lot of stress on your fabric. So like I like to use the Aqua Magic Plus because it has the sticky. So there's the Aqua Magic side. This is the paper side. So this is the side that's going to go up. And I can toss a couple of magnets down to hold it in place. Right? So this is my just temporary hold. And then what I do is I'm going to score the center here. And for this, I just use an old sewing machine needle. I use a pin, etc. This is really not ideal because I have a little gap here, so I'm probably going to poke too far. But I usually just do this on a flat surface, and I just kind of run it along the inside of the inner ring of the hoop. And just kind of don't pay attention. Pay no attention to the man behind the curtain because I am not doing this. Usually I do this on my cutting table or kitchen counter or something that's the right height and flat. So once I get this all done, and then I just do a big X in the middle, and then I'm able to just kind of push up from the underneath and just peel this away. So it comes off fairly easy. Cool, huh? If you've never used this before, it's super cool. All right. But now it's tacky in here. So now, if I want to lay my fabric down. So now if I want to lay my fabric down, I can just lay it right on top and just tack it into position. So this is just a piece of fabric. It has no, normally I would have my no-show mesh on the back of it, etc. And then from here, I can come and just reposition my magnets so that they are actually holding everything securely. So you see it, but it does hold it really, really secure. And you can go ahead and stitch it on out. So let me talk about some of what's going on. Oops. So another thing when it comes to embroidering knit is I am of the school of you can never have enough stabilization. So the way I like to do it is I personally, where's my, so I have a bad one here. Oh, here's my good one. So I haven't trimmed this one away yet. So one of the things here is on this one, I had two forms of stabilizer underneath. Let me pop this under. No, this one I only had the one. Nope, I did have the two. So this one has, so there's my Aqua Magic that I had in the hoop. So I used my metal hoop. This is the cutaway. And I will come and soak this away and trim it down a little bit so that it's like a 1/4 of an inch all the way around. And clean it up a bit. But this is what it can look like. Now I want to show you some things up here too, because every once in a while you'll get kind of this kind of thing going on. And one of the things is it's something it's not super stable. So when I tend to do, anytime I do any kind of knit, so a couple of things can be happening. It's either not as stable as I would think it, or it's getting caught in between the ribs of the fabric itself. So in this one, I did not use a topical stabilizer. So usually when I embroider on knit, that is another thing that I always do. I'm going to use the Dissolve Away, I'm going to use the Dissolve Away Max, or I'm going to use a Clear and Melt. So the Clear and Melt is like saran paper. But I always like to put this on top when I stitch out, if that makes sense to you, because it's gonna hold this fabric into place and keep everything, the stitching on top of everything right where I want it to be. So do you usually use the no-show mesh plus the sticky stabilizer? No, it just depends on, so if you don't want to use both, I tend to like to use both because, as I mentioned earlier, I tend to be a little lazy. So I use the sticky back and the cutaway, so they work in tandem together just to save me some time. But you could actually hoop the no-show mesh, use a spray adhesive or something like that, and then tack that in, which I have done as well. So it's entirely up to you what you would like to do. But no, you do not have to use both. But when it comes to knit, you do need for a heavy design like this, especially, you need to have a cutaway that is going to hold the shape of this after you washed it and stuff like that. Because if you do not have a cutaway on a dense design like this, what's going to happen is it just kind of will curl up, and it doesn't hold the shape, if that makes any sense. So a cutaway on a stable fabric, like, I mean, a very thick design like this. On something like this, for instance, now I was right in the middle of it, so I did not get to even finish it. So let me take this off. So I'm going to show you how to do the hoop the onesie here in just a moment before time gets away from me. I'm trying to be very careful not to. So on this one, I used my Dissolve Away Max. I was trying to give a lot of samples, but ran out of time. But if you see here, because this is such kind of an open design, here I only have the water soluble. So yes, that last question, I am going to talk about that as well. Because it's such an open design, I do not necessarily need the stabilization to stay in the way I would for a very dense design, because this is kind of a lightweight design. Now, when it comes to the back piece, so, oh, hello, I'm dropping stuff. Okay, let me just throw this on real quick. If I can find the top of it. There we go. So, so this guy here, I do not have a cutaway. So I just used the water soluble. And the same with the guy down here. So, but when I did the back piece, I don't know if you guys can see this. I don't know if I need to move down a bit. But when I did the back piece, because it was much larger, so if you can't see that, I'll hold it up in a minute. I did use a cutaway in there as well because it was just much bigger. So here's the back. Kind of goes like this. So it's all kind of the same family of designs. This is the one design here. So everything's not trimmed. So you're seeing a lot of this because I will tend to trim it down to the 1/4 of an inch away. But this design is the same one that I used to make my little butterfly. So I just put the two together. All right. But yeah, those will have to soak in some some lukewarm water. Okay. So there are some very good questions. What do you put on the back of so that it's not rough against the baby's skin? Yes. And that doesn't go just for babies. That goes for any kid in general. Because as you know, and you may not know, but as most people know, that when it comes to kids, if it itches, they are not going to wear it. So it is very important that it not be itchy on the other side. So that non-woven cutaway works really well for that. Where did I put you? So, whoops, that's not it. So the non-woven cutaway, the one that looks like tearaway, so that works really well because even when you trim it, it tends not to be itchy. But yes, I do, especially with baby stuff, I do like to cover it. And for that, I use Light and Soft Fuse-On. You can use any kind of fusible stabilizer that is soft. But let me see, do I have you? I have a sample with it so you can kind of see it. And of course, I need my studio. Anybody want to build me a recording studio? I'd be very grateful for some extra space. I do have a t-shirt here. I may have to post a picture because I know I pulled it out for today, but I'm not seeing it. So it's a little onesie like this, and it does have the fusible diffusion light on the back of it, and it is very, very soft. So here, if you take a look, here, if you take a look, you can see it's very smooth, it's very slinky, it's very soft, so it's very good for the kids. Anyway, so yes, I do usually put a topper. That's one of my choices, but yeah, sometimes I'll just use a stabilizer a fusible interfacing if I have some of that handy and I want to use it up, that kind of stuff. So I am going to talk about needles. Do you recommend ironing on anything in the back when completed with the embroidery to forget the scratchiness? So we did talk about that alternative. So a stabilizer or the light and soft stabilizer or a fusible interfacing will work really well. So yes, another thing when it comes to husbands too, yeah, if it's itchy, they won't wear it. So so let me see this. I know I pulled that little onesie out here. I just know I did. I just don't see you. All right. You're on the floor somewhere? Maybe. Because my black sweater is there. Okay. So like, for instance, there's one reason this guy turned into a sample that I will sometimes carry when I'm on the road, because this is definitely itchy, and it's itchy that I can do nothing about. So I chose this really fun ribbon, but this is, I don't know if you can hear this. It is so hard, and it's just so scratchy, but it's so cute, so I had to carry it around with me. But let me see here on the back. So here I just did, I do want to show you that. So here I just did the fusible, and kind of what happened here is I used the fusible no-show mesh, but as I started to embroider, and the reason I know this is because I have 2 layers of the fusible, or not fusible, but I have another layer of the no-show mesh. Can you get everybody see that? So what happened was, as soon as this started to embroider, and I can't tell you where, but somewhere when it started to embroider, I was seeing something, some of these lines. See there, one of the lines that I saw was no longer lining up. And what that was telling me was that my fabric here was starting to pull. So as soon as I see that kind of thing, I will stop the machine and I will cut another piece of stabilizer and just slide it right under the hoop. I don't need to rehoop. I don't need to do anything. I'll just slide it right under the hoop and then hit go again. And that gave me that extra stabilization so that everything did come out nice and even. So I'm not sure where I saw it, but, and it might just be that leg, because that's usually what you'll see is a little bit of shifting. I don't know if you can see that, but there's a little bit of shifting that happens when it's pulling in on the knit. So again, it's not the end of the world. You just stop it, put another layer of stabilizer under the hoop, and you're good to go. And you can do that for non-wovens as well. So if something's starting to pull or pucker, you can stabilize it just by throwing another one into the hoop. Okay, this guy. So here's another one where I did not even use, like that pink one, I did not use the Aqua Magic Plus. I just used the mesh, and this is another little embroidery, and this is on a sweater knit. So as you can see, there's no real puckering, but I did not hoop it. I don't want to hoop it because I want it to lay flat. All right, I want to show you right in the middle of an embroidery, but I can show you. Where's my little, oh, there's my little hoop. All right. All right, so I'm going to just see real quickly if it fell on the floor. Yep, and, well, nope, that's that one. Nope. All right. So you're just hiding. It just ran away. It doesn't like me today. All right. So what we're going to do is when I'm talking about hooping a onesie, is there's lots of ways you can do little projects like this. One is you can take the side out here, right? So you can take the side out, and if you have a serger, then you can serge it back up. But personally, I don't want to have to deal with reattaching the binding. So I tend to keep it all together as much as I can when I'm hooping this. And this is what it'll look like when it's hooped. So here's the little guy here. So this is where it's attaching to the machine, to the Creative Icon, and soon to be the Creative Icon 2. But you can see how you can really get into a tight area with this. Okay. But I want to talk a bit about needles before I go on to that, before I go on to this, before I forget, because I've forgotten about it twice already. When it comes to sewing machine needles, if you were to look at the points under a microscope, Microtex, Sharps, Top Stitch, etc., they have a very sharp point. When it comes to a universal needle has a point, but it's slightly rounded. So that is why when you sew knits, you can use either a universal or a stretch or ballpoint. But when it comes to machine embroidery on knits, I personally cannot stress enough to use either a stretch or preferably a ballpoint. But you want a stretch, a jersey, a ballpoint, anything that is designed for knits. Because what will happen is the knits, the stretch, the ballpoints, they do not have a sharp point at the top. They have a rounded point at the top. So when it comes to hitting the fibers, it doesn't pierce at all. Even if it's an accidental, it doesn't pierce. It'll go through the fibers. And knit is just like pantyhose. So for those of you that ever wore pantyhose in your life, I grew up wearing pantyhose because, that's what we did in our church. And as you know, if you just looked at it funny back in the day, it would get a run. And every time I tried to take a shortcut, like if I've just finished a project, I know I still am good on the needle, I'm going to whip out this little t-shirt, and I'm not going to bother to change the needles. Every time, not just once or twice, every time I get a snag and it runs. So sometimes it will be just the point of a letter. Sometimes it will be a serious run. And sometimes it will just be as soon as you put it on the baby or on the kid and they stretch it a little bit, it'll just start running. So cannot stress enough, don't be lazy. Use a ballpoint needle, a stretch needle, or a jersey needle. They are all designed for knits. And you'll thank me. And if you ever do it without one of those, you'll go, oh, that's what she's talking about. Yeah, because it's a mess. So yeah, always use a ballpoint needle or a rounded needle. All right, so let's talk about hooping this. So you can see how this is hooped. I am going to take this out. Even though it's not finished, that's okay. So another thing that you see on my little hoop are these little fabric guides. Now you can purchase these for the metal hoops. And I actually have 2 sets because I like them so much. And these are actually like little fabric dams. So they go up against the sides of the the hoop to help hold the fabric from folding in on itself. So these are very, very quite handy. So when it comes to, I'm just going to go ahead and put this back together so I don't have to unhook the whole thing. So this is the petite hoop. So it's the 100 by 100 creative petite hoop, metal hoop. And the very first thing that I do is I have my Aquamagic Plus. You don't have to do that. You could use the spray adhesive, but especially when I'm using onesies, I recommend this because it's going to make it so much easier. I have my no-show fusible mesh that is fused to the back of the shirt, and I'm going to get my hoop dressed. So I'm just going to put the shirt on just like I would if this were the baby. Okay, everybody with me so far? So once I get this, I throw a couple of magnets down just to kind of hold it into place, usually in one of the four corners. And now I can come and start bringing this part up from the back and start running it up. Okay. I need to put hold on, I need to put a little magnet down here at the bottom because it's trying to rise. All right, but so for here, now I come and just start pulling this up. So I'm not really stretching everything too much. And I'll kind of just keep rolling it up until it comes up and around here. Let me come up here so you can see that view here. And then when I come to the top, I will just clear that so that it can attach to the machine. So once it's all sticky. I've got a couple of key points here. And so now it's getting close. So if you're going to use the fabric guides, you can actually just use the magnets, but I'm a big fan of the fabric guides. So I'm going to lay my fabric guide up along the edge and put in a couple of magnets into the little hole here. So that'll hold these down. Okay, with me? Ooh, wow. So some of you may have already done this before. I'm going to kind of move this out so that it can move. But you see how it just gets everything out of the way? I just love that. Okay. And then this is going to attach to the machine here. So I'm just going to go ahead and add one more of the little fabric guides down at the bottom just to keep as much of it out of the way as I can. So the fabric guides come 2 to a set. So if you want more than that, you buy 2 sets. These are great Christmas presents, birthday presents, anniversary presents. I'm mad at you, so buy me something presents, all that kind of stuff. But you can see how clearly this gets all of this out of the way. And I'm just going to put one more magnet over here. I'm not going to bother with another fabric guide because it's plenty clear. Is everybody excited about that? Any questions about that? Are there any questions so far? All righty. You guys have to have some questions. So one thing for those of you that do have software, I'm not going to talk too much about the software, but for those of you that do have software and want to digitize your own fabric or digitize your own designs, you can actually, if you bring in a picture to be auto-digitized, you can actually tell it what kind of fabric you're working with, and it'll make the compensations before it'll do it. If you do, there are some websites out there that have embroidery designs that stitch out like cardboard. I'm not dissing but they do stitch out very dense. If you are working with any of those companies, I definitely highly recommend that you make the design 20% bigger before, don't resize it, just make it 20% bigger, and keep the same stitch count because you just want to get some air in there. Are the fabric guides, they are a PFAFF product, so you can get them from your, so the three hoops, that I am talking about, the creative petite metal hoop is a PFAFF product. The metal hoop, which is the mid-size, is a PFAFF product. The creative grand metal hoop is a PFAFF product. These are all PFAFF products. The fabric guides. So you can get these from your dealers. They have the same thing on the Husqvarna Viking side for the Husqvarna Viking watchers are in here. So they have the 100 by 100, they have the 180 by 130, and then they have the mega metal hoop, and they have the fabric guides. So you can get those from your dealers. When it comes to centering, you can do the same thing. So, where was it? I can hear you, but I can't. Let me just grab it real quick. So when it comes to centering, for those of us that are from the old school of embroidery, we may remember the templates would come with our hoops. They don't do that anymore. And one of the reasons is you can print out your little template. So here's my little butterfly. So I was able to just print this out. This was my bad one before I'd centered it in the software. But I was going to show you guys this. When you print it and tell it you want the grid on, you can have these grid lines here. So once you've got it to where you want it and you've got it in a happy position, I will pin it in place. I'll stand in the mirror. I'll do all that stuff. And then I will just mark these 4 lines crisscross. So I have the center. So the center marks, so I can line up with the center. And then for those of you that have precise positioning, or on the Viking side, the PFAFF design positioning, you can fine tune it even more. But yes, you can. I just print these off. Whether or not you have stable software, you can make a free account and get the basic software for free, and it will allow you to print off your templates. So this is so much more convenient than tracing them onto a template and having to clean. So there are 4 magnets that come with each hoop. So if you buy 2 hoops, you're going to end up with 8 magnets. So each magnet or each metal hoop comes with 4 magnets. Then you can purchase 4 magnets off in a package by themselves. But you know, like I say, I have a ton of them because I use these so much that I actually ended up buying an extra of the larger one so that I could use it on multiple machines because I have more than one machine. So I do love it. Any hints for people who do not have a magnetic hoop? So in that case, there is the 100 by 100 hoop. And instead of these magnets like you're seeing here, because, you know, I've been embroidering for, 25 years. Whenever the rose came out, that's how long I've been embroidering. And we didn't have these fancy things back then. So what I would do something very similar like this with pins. So I would hoop I've got you guys. I will hoop my stabilizer, whether I'm going to have a sticky back stabilizer or a spray adhesive, and then stick it down. And then I would just put little straight pins in all of the 4 corners. And then all of these I would just kind of roll out of the way and put pins on those. So I had a lot of pins and everything. And you do want to be careful with the nits. But we have clips now, which we didn't readily have back then. But yeah, there's all kinds of ways. The thing is just to get everything out of the way. The same rules will apply, however. So if I were using the 100 by 100 non-metal hoop, I would do the same thing. I'm just going to get it dressed and then start rolling it back up from the back and work it around. So there were a few questions. So I find that I almost always have to drop the tension on your embroidery machine. Do you have to drop yours? Sometimes. It depends on the fabric. So like if I'm doing a big chunky sweater, that might want a different tension than a very drapey, lightweight um, fabric. So yeah, don't be afraid to play with your tensions to get the appropriate look that you want, because Husqvarna Viking and PFAFF, they do brilliantly with getting the tension as close to possible in the best scenario for whatever you're telling it you want to do. But there still are those variables that it just can't control. So yeah, if you change your tension, it's fine. It's not anything bad with the machine. It's just it doesn't know what your fabric you're working with. So any hints for that? So I do want to remind you about on February 17th, our next Facebook Live is February 17th, and it will be sewing and embroidering on silk with Karen. Do you use a different technique with adult shirts? I tend to use still the metal hoops. Before that, I would use the same thing. I would hoop my sticky back stabilizer or hoop my stabilizer and then spray a sticky back to it and then just keep everything on top. But yes, it was pretty much a similar technique. It's actually much easier as you get bigger sizes, which is why I wanted to show the onesie, because so many of you had asked about an easy way to deal with the onesie. But there are also guides for embroidering on shirts on how far down, how far over, what placement they should be on, etc. So you can Google those pretty quickly. I'm one of those, I don't ever really bother with that. I will print out my template and just kind of stick it, where I want it to be, because the measurement may say it wants it here, but that may put it into kind of a risque position that I don't want it to be in. So I usually just print out the template and get it where I want to be, pin it into place, and then just mark it from there. But if you are one of those that are doing it for hire, you definitely want to be in the proper measurements. But once again, I want to remind everybody about February 17th, sewing and embroidering on silk with Karen Charles. And I do want to remind everybody about the survey that we have. So please, if there's something that you want to talk more about, like I talked a little about the software, if you want to talk more about software, digitizing with knits, that could be something that you mentioned. So yeah, if you heard anything that you want to delve in more on a specific topic, we can definitely, because I just did kind of a catch-all today. But yeah, so one of the key things is you want wash away, and you want to cut away, and you cannot over stabilize, and use a ballpoint, stretch, or jersey needle. So those are my big recommendations for embroidering on knit. And just try it. Like I said, if you've never tackled knit before and are scared to tackle knit, just go to the thrift store and just find all the cheapest stuff that you can find, and just get a variety of different textures and weights, and just start playing. You'll learn a lot of things, and then you will start knowing what questions to ask to how to improve. So if there's no further questions, we have about 1 minute, so I am here for you if you have another question. Okay, so in that case, I think we are going to end for today. And I want to thank you all again for coming. I will be scrolling through the comments, and like the question earlier about, is there a master list for all the stabilizer? I am going to get off and look for that right now and see if I can get that for you guys. But I want to thank you all for coming. As always, I really enjoy this. And don't forget the survey. Don't forget the next Facebook Live on the 17th. And we'll see you next time. Bye.